Oh, no audio. All right, I think we had a little bit of technical difficulties on that because I don't think we had any audio for that. But that was "Son of a Prodigal Son" from the Bastards of Bill album. Probably my favorite song on that whole album. So since we kind of started with that, Hopper had, I guess, originally talked to you there. I don't know. It's probably been a little bit back.
Yeah.
But you had mentioned that that video was actually shot in the same location as possibly another video of yours.
Yes, man. How y'all doing, man? Thank you so much for having me on today. This is awesome.
Thank you. This is an honor. This is a big deal for us. You've been a big part of our lives for a long time. So.
Oh, thank you, man. Gosh, yeah, watching the video, man, even without the audio, it just brings back a bunch of crazy memories. We spent our whole life. That place is called Handy's Hall, W.C. Handy's Blues Hall on Bill Street. It's right at 4th and Bill. It's connected to a place called Rum Boogie Cafe. Man, I spent so many nights in that place and closed it down. There was a great singer, soul singer, James Govan, that played there for a really long time. Him and Don McMahon was another guitar player. They had a B3 player, horn section, some of the best musicians in town. And but anyway, we spent many nights running up and down that street. And when we were signed to A&M, our first single, Walking Shoes, was going to have a video production, and they scouted locations. We had a guy come in from California, and they were scouting, and they found Handy Hall, attached on Rum Boogie. And it's, I don't know if any of your people watching or listening or whatever has ever been to Bill Street, but it's kind of like a strip. It's kind of a touristy area. It's got a bunch of bars. Every musician in every one of those bars can tear the strings off their instrument. And but this place was really unique. It's got a really kind of unique personality, and as do every venue you walk in, they're a little bit different. They're shaped and spaced and everything a little bit different. But this one was really kind of cool. It's real intimate. And yeah, man, we went in for Walking Shoes. We shot our first video in there, and we shot on location all over town. But that was one of the main locations, one of the main scenes. And we had a blast, man. We got a bunch of our friends to come and do cameos in it. And it was just incredible, man. We couldn't believe it back then. It was blowing our mind, all the production that went into it, all the planning. We didn't have any idea about all the, the logistics and all that kind of stuff that went into videos and stuff. We watched MTV religiously, like everybody did. I remember seeing MTV when it came on. I was living in Houston, Texas. My family was moving around the country. We're all from down in the Delta, and my dad worked for the airline, so we kind of moved around quite a bit. But I remember MTV coming on, and I was in Houston, Texas. I turned it on. I went, "Oh my God, what is this?" And I didn't move. I don't think I moved for the whole night. Just sat there going, "Oh my God, this is like the most incredible thing I've ever seen." So we thought it was amazing. We watched Headbangers Ball every week, like everybody was doing back in the day. And then one week, our video popped on there, and it was insane. It was crazy. And the next thing we knew, we were sitting across from the guy, the host, doing an interview. And then we actually were the host of their countdown shows and stuff back in the day. It was crazy. Lots of great memories though with Bill Street and Handy Hall. And then when I went back, it was kind of a full circle moment, man. I brought my children. I have 3 boys. I brought them with me to the video shoot, and I said, the last time I was in this room doing something like this, I was your age, and they all fell out. I was like, this is crazy. We've come all the way back around. But it's really cool. It's awesome. It's the 4 original guys. We all went to high school together.
That's
we all
awesome.
together.
Yeah.
And, we still enjoy just being around each other. We still enjoy being creative and, hanging with each other. And that record, The Bastards of Bill, I got it for you guys. I was going to show here. Shameless plug. This is available everywhere on all digital platforms. And you can also get this physical copies. You guys feel free to reach out to us at toratoramusic.com and we'll direct you towards Right Rock Sportswear, Tora Tora. They're the people that do all of our merch. And we just had such a great time doing that album. It was really crazy. Our bass player, Patrick, had gone through kind of a health scare. He back in around 2016. And he made a full recovery. He was diagnosed with cancer. It was a very aggressive cancer, and it was like divine intervention or something. He went in for a checkup for something else. He had been feeling bad for something else on a trip. And he was actually, I think he may have been out of the country from what I remember, but he came back and he said, I'm just going to go immediately to the doctor. And he was getting something else taken care of. And they just said, hey, by the way, on your report or whatever, we just found this. And I said, it's super aggressive, but it's at the very beginning. So we're going to get this and you're going to make a full recovery. And of course, we all freaked out because of our age and our lifestyle and everything. When something about your health happens, it's serious. But we were very excited to hear that he got the all clear from the doctor. And as soon as he got cleared, he said, hey, I want to play. He goes, I don't care if it's 5 people or 50 or 5,000 or 50,000. He said, let's just get together and start jamming. And so we jumped on the Monsters of Rock cruise, which Larry Moran and a bunch of the staff that he works with, they do an incredible job. And they'd ask us a couple of times if we would be available, and we couldn't get our schedules coordinated. We've always been kind of family first. We all pull back, at different times based on what our families and careers and stuff had going on. And but at this point in time, everybody said, let's everybody block time in. Patrick's ready to roll, and we're all excited. And man, it was the most incredible experience. I don't know if anybody listening or watching has ever gone on one of those things, but it is killer. I mean, it's the way it's set up. You're interacting with all the artists. They have, mixing drinks with them, cooking with them, karaoke with them, plus all the concerts you're seeing. It's like 40 bands on the boat. And we were huge fans of all those bands anyway, and to get them all in one spot and be able to check them out. I'm a huge fan of Tesla and Kix, and we saw Queen's Ride on there, King's X. Pat Travers was on there, man. He blew the freaking roof off the place. It was awesome. I mean, it was killer. And we kind of found our tribe on there. We were like, hey, man, this is awesome. These are the people, that are, participating in all these events, and they have platforms like this, which we, tip our hat to all you guys with all your podcasts and all that kind of stuff. You guys give us a voice and a platform to reach people. So that's really powerful. And we appreciate all you guys. And anyway, we did that, and somebody reached out to us through social media, and it was through Twitter. And we said, man, these people are like smoking something or whatever. We thought it was somebody messing with us. And, but I said, if we can get the guy's contact, I'll call, and let's figure it out. Keith and we were all talking. We said, one of us will call. And I looked it up. It was Frontiers Records. And I knew the name. There was a guy named Jimmy Jameson. I don't know if your listeners and everybody watching is familiar with Jimmy, but he was the lead vocalist for Survivor, Eye of the Tiger. And,
Okay.
They had huge hits. And actually, they had a different singer for Eye of the Tiger right after that. And they had, I don't even know how many #1 records they had, but he sang on every one of our albums. If he was in town, he would come in. He was from Memphis, and he was super humble. You would have never in a million years known how successful he was if you just met him. He was just the most down to earth guy, and he was traveling all over the world. We didn't realize it when we were talking to him. He was flying in from like South America or somewhere, crazy. And but he gave us really good advice. He talked to us. He knew kind of the experience we were going through as new people. And his first band, Target, that was based out of Memphis. If your listeners have never looked them up, check them out. They're out of Memphis. It was really awesome. It was straight ahead rock and roll. It was almost kind of like Free or Bad Company. His voice was really similar, and he could do anything with his vocals. It was awesome watching him do backups and stuff. But he had done some solo records with Frontier, so I was familiar with that from a few years back. And so anyway, I got that phone number and I called, and they had one U.S. rep. Frontiers, for your listeners and stuff, is based out of Italy. and they specialize in melodic rock and kind of 80s rock and hard rock and stuff. And the guy answered the phone, and he was really nice, but he was kind of fumbling around and bustling. He said, "Hey man, I'm right in the middle of moving." He goes, "I really want to talk to you. Is there any way I could call you back?" And I said, "Yeah, no problem. Let's just connect when you have time." I said, "Where are you moving to?" And because he had a New Jersey area code, and he goes, "Man, I'm moving to Nashville." And I said, "Oh my God, I live in Nashville." And he goes, "I thought y'all were based out of Memphis." And I said, "Well, the whole band's there. I've been up here for like 15 years, or 17 years, whatever it was." And I said, "What part of town are you in? I'll buy you a cup of coffee or something when you get settled." And it was freaking one exit from our house, man.
Wow.
I literally got one exit down and went and met him in a coffee shop, man, that afternoon. We went and sat down, and he was just super down to earth. He of all styles of rock and stuff. And he said, "I remember going and buying your record, man, when it came out, the first album." And so it just made me feel really good that he was, at this and that he enjoyed it. And he was kind of back in our style of music, because we kind of have stayed in that same lane, the blues kind of thing, didn't really fracture off away from that at any point. And so it made me really excited. And it just seemed like the timing of what he was doing, it came right after the Monsters of Rock thing. And he actually said it. He said, "I didn't even know you guys were active until I saw you were on the Monsters of Rock thing." And so that made it really good. And it raised our profile up. And then with Frontiers, that was an opportunity for us to reach out to their audience. They've been building for 25 years or something. They've been in business. So it just made sense. And we had all creative control and everything. And we did it, down and dirty. It was a really small budget. And we went in, and I was actually traveling to Memphis. We wanted to cut everything there and make it a Memphis record. And so we were kind of fighting, on two fronts. We were limited budget and limited time. And so we did a bunch of pre-production before we put this record together. The band, I can't tell y'all, Patrick, John, and Keith, man, they did so much work. I mean, we got approached in 2017, the end of 2017. And then, we started working and writing. We didn't want to go back to any existing material. We said, "Man, let's just wipe the slate clean." And we literally did it like we did when we were little kids, man. We took a piece of white poster board and stuck it in John's drum room, and we put a list, of the songs, and we had all the fake titles. This kind of got a Zeppelin, so we had like the Zepp riff, and then this one kind of sounds like Hendrix, and this one is, and just kind of had the fake titles up there. And then we made all of our little, for our project management, I guess, we had our little thing checks off, so we got arrangements, we got lyrics, we got the things going. And we decided to work with a friend of ours, Mr. Jeff Powell, was going to produce the record. He was the assistant engineer on Wild America like 20 years ago. Longer than that. It's probably the 30th anniversary this year, actually, 22. So it came out in 92. But he was a little kid back then, and he was the guy that would have to stay with us when the sessions were over and stuff, and the producers and everybody would call it a day, and they go, "We're going to go eat and go rest and be ready fresh for tomorrow." We would want to stay in the studio. We'd go, "Let's rewind it, let's listen, and I need to crank it up, mix." And they were like, "You can play around with anything you want to do. Just don't hit this freaking red button over here, because these are your master recordings that we're giving to A&M." So he would stay with us, and sometimes we would keep him there overnight. We would just stay and stay and stay and stay and stay. And then people would come in and start making coffee the next morning. We go, "Oh God, we got to go crash, man, before the session." And then Jim would have to start the day again. He was like, "Oh God, I really got time to, freshen up." And these people are just come back in and pull their, recall on their mixes and stuff. So he was kind of like an extended family member, and we trusted him. We talked to him. He was working out of Sam Phillips recording studio. Which for your listeners, Sam Phillips, discovered a bunch of people. I don't know if y'all are familiar with Sun Records, but he found like Howlin' Wolf. He found Jerry Lee Lewis, Roy Orbison, a guy named Elvis. I mean, he was responsible for all these dudes. And he ended up, Sun Studios on a little street in Memphis, right off of Union Avenue. And he sold Sun to RCA. And then when he sold Sun and the Elvis part and all that stuff, he went right down the street on the same block, and he bought an auto body shop, and he stripped it, and he built this studio from the ground up. He built the rooms, echo chamber, everything about it. And so Jeff is in there. He's cutting straight to vinyl. And it was really crazy how this stuff happened. We did Monster Rock, Frontiers calls us. And Jeff had seen us do a benefit for Patrick at the end of 2016. And he said, I was just thinking about all these people were playing and sitting in with each other and all that. And he goes, and you guys came out. And we had a one guy that was subbed in our band for that show because Patrick was still kind of in recovery and he had played. But Patrick came out at the end, you know, to play. He did like Walking Shoes or two or three songs with us. His stamina was kind of, he was still working on that. But he said, I noticed when he got up there, the four of y'all, man, when he hit the stage, that's the Tora Tora sound. He said, man, it just was resonating with me. And he said, so he reached out to us and he said, I'm cutting straight to vinyl. Do you want to come down here and cut a single? And so in the meantime, that conversation was happening. Frontiers talked to us and we wrote him back and said, you're not going to believe this. We don't want to come just cut like one or two. We want to do a whole project with you if you can make the time for us. And so it was awesome. So we had a bunch of meetings with him ahead of time and like for pre-production stuff. And he said, I'll get everything lined up, man, where you can be really comfortable and not be stressing about the time that we have, the limited amount of time we have and all that kind of stuff. So he was, you know, anytime you're working with somebody, whatever kind of part of your career it is, or business that you're in, there's that trust element, you know. Mm-hmm. If you're kind of conceding over a little bit of control to somebody, that's kind of stressful. And it was easy for him to say, hey, I know he's going to help us. And so he did a ton of pre-production with us. So we really had a plan for that album. And we went in and we basically cut it live. I mean, it was, you know, the earlier records, Wild America and Surprise Attack, we worked on those for Surprise Attack. We wrote for a year. We probably wrote 60 or 70 songs for that record. Wow. And then Wild America, we wrote that one on the road. You know, that was our first tour. We had never been out of Memphis until Surprise Attack came out. So, I mean, when we left, man, our eyes were bigger on us. God, I never want to go home again. I mean, it was just like amazing, you know. And so we wrote that record too. So it was about 2 years working on Wild America. Just we would do, you know, 4 or 5 songs at a time. We'd come in the studio and cut them, and then we'd say, pick the best one out of those 5, and then now that's the bar. Anything else that we work on has got to be this good or better. And so that took a while, and we probably wrote 60 or 70 songs for that record. And we did that for every project for Revolution Day too when we were working on it. But this one, I think we ended up probably about 20 or 25 ideas. We had a lot of riffs and stuff, but there was a couple of them that right away we said, oh man, this one feels really good and it's going to be something kind of cool to put on there. And it was fun, man, to do it. We were kind of freaking out, you know, because we hadn't recorded new music in a long time. Yeah. And we were thinking the same thing everybody else was thinking. We're like, I wonder what this new stuff's going to sound like. And we went in the rehearsal space. John, our drummer, has a drum room. It's kind of soundproof. And we went in there and kind of set up. And as soon as we started jamming together, we just went, oh my God, this is going to be awesome. It's going to be so cool. Yeah. We had talked about it on and off for years about, you know, it'd be cool to get together and try to do some new recording, but it just felt like the timing was never right. There was always some kind of obstacle that came up or somebody's coordinating their schedule. You know, when you're dealing with 4 people and families and you know how it is with life and stuff. Yeah. And, but it just took a priority. It just took a second for us. And I really can't stress enough. I did work on this stuff a lot, the lyrics and all that, but the band really put in a lot of hours, man, getting tight and stuff. When they went in the studio, they just knew that stuff forwards and backwards and upside down. I mean, it was crazy. It was a different process. And we were so excited. The studio, I was so excited because everybody from Bob Dylan to I'm super fan of Robert Plant. He had recorded there. And I was like, I'm going to be standing in the freaking booth, you know, where he was standing. And, all those thoughts are going through your head. Yep. And we went in. And so the band was in the room live and they isolated me just in case. They said, if you get it, great. But if you stumble through something or get out of, off key or out of breath or whatever, we'll come back and grab you in a minute. And so they did the whole record like that. You know, the very first song on the album, Sons of Zebedee, that was the very first song. We walked in, the drums were all set up, and we just said, let's count it off and let's do it. And we laughed because it was a couple of clicks faster than we had rehearsed it and stuff. But it was because we were so excited. We said, man, you know what? Let's leave it. It feels good. That it feels like it's in the pocket. And we didn't use a click track. John used an app on his phone. He threw it in the floor. And he was very regimented very early on in our career. Playing the clicks and stuff was a necessity, and you had to get there to get lined up in the studio to keep everybody on track. And at the beginning, I'm not gonna lie to y'all, he hated it. He would stand up, knock his cymbals over, and throw his sticks. Our guts out because we were like, God, John, what's going on? You go and listen to what he's doing. You put on a set of headphones, and it's a freaking cowbell on like 100 going just. I was like, he's been sitting there for like 8 hours with that. No wonder he's ready to choke somebody dead. He got really, really comfortable with it in the studio, and he got into it so much that by the time we were on tour for Wild America and stuff, he would wear headphones to make sure. We would be so excited when we went out in the crowd, we would just tear into a song, and he'd go, whoa, he would like pull the reins back and go, okay, the set's gonna be over in like 15 minutes unless y'all chill out because you're like freaking and fast forward right now. So he got really regimented on it, and so he's really always kept himself groomed on. He rehearses with them and all that kind of stuff. But when we went in the studio, it just had this real natural feel. And he said, "I think I'm going to try it this way, just see what it feels like." And we were very happy. And as long as he was happy, we would listen to the takes and stuff and say, "Are you okay? And do you feel good about it?" And he was like, "Yeah, man, I'm good. Let's move on to the next one." So we cut that whole record in about 8 days, I think. We got everything put together, and Jeff was amazing. It was just such a crazy experience, man. Right at the end, we had a delivery date from Frontiers. We wanted to release the record on the Monsters of Rock cruise. We said, man, this is the weekend that we want it to come out and everything. It's like February 22nd of 2019 or whatever. And to do that, for the people who aren't familiar with it, that are just listening, within the industry or whatever, from the manufacturing part of it and all that kind of stuff, the scheduling from the label side, set and all that kind of stuff, you kind of have to be ahead of it. And it was a 6-month due date. So it was like we had to turn in August for it to come out in February. And so we were getting close to that deadline, and I wanted to sing, and we were going to sing at the studio. And this gentleman from Memphis, his name's William Bell. He's a soul singer, man. He's from like Stax days. He's an icon. This dude has got the most incredible voice. Anybody listening should look him up. William Bell. He's awesome. He's in his late 70s, maybe getting up to his 80s. His voice is still immaculate. I mean, it's killer. And he asked to record it at Sam Phillips Studio in the Studio A where we were working. And I was like, what am I going to do, man? This guy's an icon. I've listened to his songs a million times. I was like, of course, tell him he's fine. And I said, find me. I'll go to the room down the hall or something. And, the producers and the assistants and all that said, hey, man, we can let you sing in Nashville. And I was like, no, man, I want this to be a Memphis record. It's Bastards of Bill. I'm from Memphis. I want to be there. And I said, we'll figure it out. Let William do it. And so when you go in the studio, there's these checkered floors, and the studios are kind of going to the hallway to the left. And there's these set of stairs, man. They have the red shag carpet, man. It's about, it's like 70s, 60s or 70s. And when you go up the steps, like the first floor are your studios and production rooms, a little, kind of a little green room and all that kind of stuff. And then the steps go up, and there was this big empty room. It had neon lights around the top of it that were like, they were long lights, skinny little long lights, and they would turn different colors. And it's empty because it used to be the distribution room for the Sam Phillips company. They would put all the vinyl and stuff, their singles and all that would be in that room. And then as you go towards the third floor, you kind of turn the stairs and you go up, and it's the offices. Okay, so there's a little secretary desk that's built into the structure of the wall. And then on this side, on y'all screen, on the left side, it's like the general manager's office and some more offices. And on the right side, there's this bar. It's decorated like the 50s. I'm not kidding. You can still go in there and make a drink. We went in immediately. Oh, yeah, we got to crack a cold one or something. And so we're in there. But straight ahead on the stairs is Sam's office, and it's shut. And you can't take any pictures. When they do the tours and stuff, they just kind of show you the top, a little bit. And then they turn around. They don't let many visitors up there. it's a very coveted kind of, historical place or whatever. Well, on my day that I'm going to Memphis, I call the studio and they said, yeah, man, William Bell's here. And so I walked in. I came from Nashville, and I walked in. I could hear it in the other room. It was B3 playing. There was a guitar playing and a drummer. And I was at church, man. I'm not kidding. I was talking about it. I was just like, man, dude, the music was so good. And these people came walking out, and they said, hey, man, we got to talk to you, man. Let's go upstairs. And so we start up the stairs, man. And I was like, oh, crap. And tell me I can't sing today after I just did this trip down there. I was getting worried. And, man, we got up to the second floor. And when I turned to go into the third floor, I looked up, and the doors of Sam's office are open, and my freaking microphone's sitting in its office. I sang the whole Bastards of Bill record sitting in Sam Phillips' office. I'm not kidding. For 2 days. I'm not kidding. When you look at it, it's got a big old jukebox next to it, next to his phone, and he would play. They were like joking with me. They go, you're looking at the first, iPod, man. He would have all his songs in here, and he would pick up and call people and try to sell his singles and stuff. So their computer, their laptops and everything were on his desk, and they had run a bunch of cables, and they had my microphone set up in the room. And I'm sitting there looking at the wall, and it's like pictures of Elvis and Sam Phillips smoking cigars. And I look, and there's the white leather chair, and there's that little round 70s, solo stand ashtray sitting right. And I'm like, that's in a picture. I'm looking at it. There's a cigar and some girl sitting there with him. And I was like, oh my God, this is awesome. And then there was a console TV behind me that was up on legs. It was probably from the late 60s or something. And it had a drawer that pulled out. It had a 45 sitting on it. It was a Roy Orbison 45, man. I looked at it in between tape. I looked down and go, this is crazy. I'm in freaking Sam Phillips' office. And Keith, that guitar player, just stayed with me the whole time. He sat in this corner right next to me. I'd just do the tape. And we'd go, okay, we got that tape. Let's do a couple more runs of the song, and then we're moving on to the next one. So I did like 5 one day and 5 the next day. Sang a bonus track thing. And then I drove home about 9:30 on Sunday night, and that was the record. So it was really cool. And they did a lot of work and ahead of time. So that was just such a cool experience, man. We had the best time, and the family was really sweet to us. We used some of our photos from the studio, not of Sam's office, but of the building itself and the artwork for the record. And we shot Son of a Prodigal Son when we're not in the Handy Hall portion. We're in that red room. That's the upstairs Sam Phillips studio. So that's where we. So
very cool.
It was awesome. We love this record. If you guys haven't listened to it, man, you can go stream it anywhere. We're on all the digital platforms. And like I said earlier, you can get physical copies of it. Just reach out to us and we'll direct you to the right place.
So it is on vinyl then also, because when I'd purchased it originally, it was just CD.
Yeah, it's on vinyl. We still have vinyl copies of it. We have that one. And then there's also vinyl Unplugged. I don't know if you guys were familiar with that.
Yes.
Yeah.
This was really fun. We recorded this at Lafayette's on the square in Memphis. It's about a 300 or 300 and something seat venue. But we had a really dear friend, promoter, Jim Green. He was a really good friend of ours. He passed away, unfortunately, about 1.5 years ago. But since about the middle of the 2000s, 2010 or something, we worked with him every year on things in Memphis. I mean, he would tell us, he would reach out to me and say, hey, man, just putting this bug in your ear, man. White Snake and so-and-so's coming, or Leonard Skinner's fixing to do a Wounded Warriors thing. You want to come be a part of this thing. And he knew the event selections. He knew the people that were coming in the pipeline. So he would ask us, he'd go, man, I know you're wanting to play. You want to come jump on one of these shows, and it'll be a good audience, and you're at home. And it was really funny, man. We grew up together kind of. He started out promoting music about the same time I started singing. So we had known each other through the years. We didn't really overlap a ton, but we would, every once in a while do things with each other. He was really busy. He started out promoting college shows down kind of around Ole Miss. It's about maybe 60 or 80 miles out of Memphis. But he worked his way up to, he was running like a Bank of America amphitheater. It was where every huge A-list artist, if you were on tour of Shed, that summer you went through he had one in Memphis and one in Little Rock. And so he worked for about 20 years building this company up. And but he approached me about this unplugged thing, man. It was crazy. We were promoting the Bastards of Bill record all over the country, and he said, "Man, you got to come home and do something really cool, man. You should do like this intimate setting." And we'd never done it. I can't talk Keith, my guitar player, into doing acoustic stuff. He wants to be through his amp. He wants to be like distorted and like blowing people's heads off.
Yeah.
And let's do this, man. It'll be, let's think about it or whatever. And so they got together and started talking, and they said, it'd be cool because we could pull in a bunch of songs maybe that we don't normally do in our sets, kind of like a deep dive, and sprinkle in a couple of the ones that we know we are always going to do. But man, it was so fun. It was so cool. It was so different than what we would normally do. And trading ideas on what songs to do and all that was really fun, putting it together. And then Jim just made it so easy. He just said the one requirement he asked, he said, "I want you to record it," because he goes, "This is going to be something really special because y'all don't ever do this." And we didn't video it. I could kick myself for not doing it. But we did record it. And we did the show, and Jim said, "Hey, man, if you do it, press it up, save me a record." And I saved his voice message that he sent me that said, "Hey, save me one of those things." I still got it on my phone now, but we're kind of indebted to him about this project because he was kind of the champion of it. He said, "I think if you do it, you're really going to be surprised at the turnout that you get and the songs that people request for you to do and all that kind of stuff." And it was so funny, man. For anybody that's listening or watching or whatever, it's really unique experience to come see us at home. If you see us in Memphis, it's funny because when we look out in the audience, we'll play a show, and I can look out at every face in there, and I've stayed out all night with every one of those people. I went to high school with some of them, and then when I got into my adulthood life, playing and singing and partying and all that, and so I have these stories with each one of those people, and everybody in my band, we all could pick out different people in the audience, but it's just really unique because we're indebted to them as well because they're the ones that got us started, man. When we were little kids, they called the radio stations. We had a song called Phantom Rider that was on the first record. It was a top 5 requested song before we even had a record deal. We did a little EP. It was Rock to Roll, and our guitar player was really funny. He was very business savvy, even when we were little kids, man. He went and put our cassettes on consignment at the record stores. He would go by physically. He was the sales rep. He would walk by and go. He goes, "This cassette, we've printed up like 1,000 of them. Could I leave a few of them here and just see if anybody picks it up at their cash register?" And the people went, "Well, yeah, man, you can leave it here, whatever. We don't give a crap, whatever." But then they started selling, and and people started. The radio station, Memphis was really cool back then. There was 2 stations in town, Rock 103 and Rock 98. They were competitive stations, but both of them were really invested in promoting local music. They had things called the Producer Showcase where they had record companies coming to town. There was tons of bands. And what's so cool is like Memphis, where it's located geographically in Tennessee, we're kind of over in the southeast corner, southwest corner. And so when they're broadcasting from those radio stations, you're hitting like Arkansas and Mississippi and Alabama and Tennessee and all that. So when they were promoting stuff, all those people would do it, man. So whether it was a show or, a turn in your music kind of thing to be on the locals only show or promoting an event, people would just come out in groves because they was reaching all these different, kind of B areas of population or whatever. And so you kind of had an following off those radio stations, which was really fun. And the sheer amount of people that were starting out back then that were all playing and stuff. It was like a surge of young bands all came out at the same time. And, it was competitive, but it was kind of like a good competition. I mean, you definitely were thinking like checking the other people out and go, "Damn, that dude's good." And I'm listening to their song and how they arranged it and all that. But you kind of knew somebody else got attention, it was helping everybody. So it's kind of like the water raising all ships, kind of scenario. Like this guy, A&R people looking, but we're going to be playing while those people are visiting. So if they're going to kind of get a dose of the whole city, on these shows, they would stack the bands together and all that kind of stuff. So it was just, I don't know, it's kind of like a perfect storm or something back then. But we were really lucky. There was a guy named Malcolm Riker that was on Rock 98, and he just took a shine to us for some reason and just gave us a shot. And it was pretty competitive to get on those shows, you know. So you would listen every Friday night to see, you would submit your stuff, and you'd be just like everybody else waiting. Are they going to play it? We don't know. Are we on there this week? You know. And then you hear it and go, oh my God, you know, it's cool. We had a song called Wasted Love we put on there that was on the EP. And then we did Love's a Bitch on the EP. That was one that made it to the Surprise Attack record. And then Phantom Rider was really kind of that was the one that kind of broke us out of everything. And the guy that signed us to A&M, his name was Brian Huttenhauer. He had participated with A&M in signing Extreme and Soundgarden, and we were his third band. And he told us, he said, I knew I was going to sign you. He said, I flew to Memphis to see y'all play. And he said, I got in my rent-a-car and turned the radio on and your song was playing. And he said, I knew that right then that I was going to sign you guys. You know? But it was pretty fun, man. When we think about, you know, the opportunities that we were afforded through Memphis, you know, they were the ones that called the radio station. They're the people back in the day, you know, they called MTV to request our videos and stuff. And flyers floating all over the city, and they kind of rallied behind us. So it's a really, really, really unique place to see us play, because we feel like it's a family kind of thing. You know, we see everybody, and now we're at the age where we're seeing them with their family and stuff. They're there, you know, and we go, oh my God, are you kidding me? This is that driving around in that crazy Nova, Nova, and this guy's bringing his daughters or whatever to the show, and you're like, oh my God, this is my friend from high school, and this guy's here with his whole family. And it's just crazy to think about the fact that we're still getting to do it. We don't really take that for granted. We still really do enjoy it.
Well, I think, you know, when I didn't have MTV to have, you know, all the cool videos. I had other music channels. Night Tracks was one of them. I think there was some other came on like Fridays or Saturday nights at whatever time. Mm-hmm. So, but that was where I got first exposed to you guys, you know, Walking Shoes and Phantom Rider. And I was like, you guys had a sound that to me, nobody else had. Wow. That bluesy just punch in the face that it just hit me and sucked me right in.
Yeah.
And so that one is what lured me in. All those songs from Surprise Attack. And I think I still have my original. I think I originally purchased it on cassette, and that was long gone. But I do have the CD, and I still got my original CD. So,
man, yeah, Keith and them were pretty heavy. When I met them, they had a band right before I got with them called Lycanthrope. You know, like the werewolf. But it was a 5-piece. It was kind of like, you know, like a Judas Priest or Iron Maiden or something was kind of the vibe they had. I think double guitars and but when we got together, it was crazy, man. When I met them, Patrick and I went to the same high school, and John and Keith had gone to the same high school. So I had kind of been knocking around in a local, you know, neighborhood band. We played like the talent show or some kind of, you know, park competition or something. And they kind of heard about us. And Patrick came up to me. This is how I'm dating myself. You guys will know what I'm talking about. But he came up to me at the mall, okay, where everybody used to hang out. So he came up to me and he said, hey, man, we're having tryouts for singers. You know, you want to do it? And I didn't know him because they were a couple of years older than me. But I said, yeah, man, I want to do it. You know, I was scared to death. I didn't know what I was getting myself into. And for some reason, because they were older, I thought they were much more established and had a lot more credibility and just more experience and all that stuff. I was like, man, they've played gigs, you know, like in the bad part of town, and they recorded something on a tape somewhere. And, you know, I didn't exactly know what that all meant, but I was thinking they were pretty, it was a pretty big opportunity. And I went over there, man. I'll never forget it. I went to Patrick, our bass player's house. They were having it, and they had their stuff set up in the living room. I'll never forget this, man. I can envision it when I'm telling y'all. And Keith had like a Marshall and a Peavey set up on different sides of the room, man. So it was covering the whole. And John had freaking Rototoms, man. He thought he was freaking like, you know, Rush or something. And Patrick was playing bass, you know. And I walked in, and I can't pick it up, but you guys can see it right here behind me. Yeah. The headstock on this guitar broke. This is the first acoustic I ever had, man. It's Viking. And my parents bought it. It was probably really inexpensive, and I've had it forever. But just within the last 2 weeks or something, that headstock, I don't know if I put too heavy strings on it or what, but anyway, it's cracked, or I would show you. But I brought this guitar to that rehearsal, or that audition, or whatever it would be called. And I went in and I was like, man, I'm going to impress them with my singing skills. I'm going to sing like a slow song, like a ballad, like Desperado, or I don't know, a Journey song or something. And I walked in and I got like 30 seconds into whatever it was. I was sitting there nervous and shaking and just strumming my guitar. And they went, yeah, man, that's cool. You know any Cheap Trick or some Aerosmith or something? You didn't even give me like 5 seconds to sing. We want you to yell on one of these songs. Do you know anything? And I said, man, I can, I can fake it if you just show me how the music goes or whatever, where to come in. And we had about 10 songs. They did 2112. Okay, that's where the Roto Times and all that stuff came from. They did the first 3 songs up to Temples of Syrinx, and they showed me in the living room. They did it, and it was doing the so his guitar was echoing, and I just thought it was the most awesome. I went, "Oh my God, it sounds just like." When you look on it now, I mean, you think about it, you just go, "Man, it was just so primitive or whatever." But it was something about the raw. But the one thing out of that whole crazy story is when we all sang and played together, it was something kind of clicked in the room that day where we just said, "Man, there's something kind of cool going on. I don't know what it is." I listened to all styles of music. My family was very musical. We're all from down in the Delta, Mississippi, and they're what I guess you'd call porch pickers. It's my mom and 2 sisters and an uncle, and they just lived out in the boonies, man. So I mean, I guess to entertain themselves, they just kind of picked up instruments. They were never professionally trained or anything, but they can play and sing anything. They're super talented, man. And I was always super intimidated by them. Like they would always go, "Come on, Anthony, jump in here and start singing." They were playing and doing old country songs and R&B and gospel and rock. My uncles and aunts love rock music. And I would never sing around them. I was just really self-conscious and just, I don't know what it was. I was just embarrassed or whatever. And I never realized how big of an influence they were on me. I kind of ran off and found Keith and them on my own. It totally put my family in shock. They didn't even know I was singing. They just were doing something with some people down the street. But I didn't realize what a big influence they were on me until I got older. And I had friends that would come over to the house and they would go, "Oh my God, your family, they're so talented. They sound amazing." And I would be like, "Man, they do that all the time. Let's go steal the car and go smoke a cigarette." I didn't want to be around that. But when I look back on it, it really did. They're probably my biggest influence. And my aunt, I have an aunt named Melissa. She was really influential on me. We spent a lot of time. She's closer to me, more like a sister than she is, my aunt. And but I remember us sitting around and playing Journey songs off that Infinity record, like Patiently and Winds of Mars and all them songs. That was real kind of acoustic oriented. That she was super patient. I drove her nuts because I was really not very good at the beginning and I wasn't getting it. And I was like, my fingers are hurting and this sucks and I'm terrible at it. And then why am I doing this? And she goes, you're gonna like it. Once you get a callus on your finger, you're gonna freak out and just start playing all the time. And so she was a really big influence on me, kind of picking up the guitar. And then my uncle could play. He played the picking style. I don't know if you're a listener, people watching are familiar with the guy named Mississippi John Hurt, but he had a really unique, he kind of played the bass and the melody and the rhythm and everything all at one time. And my uncles and aunts picked that up. My granddad encouraged them to learn those songs and stuff. And it's crazy when we think about it now that I've kind of had more experience and stuff. You realize, I think that guy was in an open tuning, so it was a lot easier kind of to do what he was doing. My family learned it in with the chords, the guitar tuned up to a regular tuning. So it was a lot different technique. But when they do it, even to this day, I'm still trying to do what they do. I can't do it. But I watch them and they make it look so easy. You watch them and you say, oh my God, it's just a natural gift that they just had enhanced or whatever. I don't know. But man, yeah, when I think about all those experiences and stuff, just to think about that, what we're doing now, making new music and hanging out and playing and touring and stuff, it's just it's incredible.
What I know we saw you. I know when y'all did the Monsters of Rock cruise, I was telling String, I said, man, you're not going to believe how good they sound, because we hadn't heard nothing out of you forever.
Yeah.
And then we went to M3 and y'all were incredible. have you really studied to take care of your voice over the years, or because your voice still is incredible after all these years?
We're rested. You guys got to remember, some of the people that are out there have been road dogs, man. They've been staying for a long time. We feel good. You know, we kind of have talked to each other about that, about the music that we're recording and the shows we're doing and all that. Is we know there's or it could potentially be a finite kind of point where we get to where we're not sure. And I definitely, man, from a vocal standpoint, feel like it's a muscle thing with you. The more that you do it, the kind of more you get in the pocket with it. And so my shows and stuff were very spotty, man. With Tora, we would do, you know, one-off shows, one for sure a year, but we were kind of throwing in these little spotty things just so we could get together and tell a bunch of bad stories on each other, you know, spend a few minutes. And but as we started ramping up for the record and everything, I got a little bit more serious about it. I went to a vocal coach, you know, just to make sure I got my voice scoped, you know, because I was like, man, I want to make sure I haven't used it like I'm about to use it. The doctors were great. The scopes and everything went great. And then I went to a younger vocal coach, which it's kind of funny. My warm-up tape that I use every time I sing is from like 1992. My band hates my guts. They hear me. They go, no, he's supposed to start singing. You know, they hate it. They've heard it for 30 years. But I went to this lady just to see, I think from a stamina standpoint and a breathing, you know, there's a lot of things behind it that from a technique kind of thing that can help you. You know, I never really I had lessons back in the day just to help me on the road, you know, ways to warm up and cool down and stuff like that. We were very busy. I can remember we would do 11 nights in a row or something, you know, and that would be pretty standard. You know, we just say, man, we just want to keep rolling and keep them coming. And then at some point you get to the point where you say, okay, I got to stop for a minute. And we would run home for a week or 2 weeks maybe, and then rest up, eat, and go to bed. And then we would go back out for like 8 weeks in a row and tear it out again. But from our standpoints, everybody has stayed creative. Keith, you know, has stayed on his chops. Patrick has stayed up. Brian definitely has. He's playing. For your listeners and viewers, there's a band called Fever Tree that's out of Memphis. That's John's other original band. They're very cool. The singer is a guy named Tim Deals, and we've known Tim since I was a little kid. I'm not kidding. They gave us our first gig. His band was called Dots back in the day. And we played, there's a theater in Memphis called the New Daisy, is where we cut our teeth. It was at the other end of Bill Street from Handy Hall. And it was about a 900 or 1,000 seat place that we played in. Across the street from it is the Old Daisy. And that's where we played with this singer, this singing with John and them. And I think we may have made like $50 or something. I mean, we went, they actually paid us some money to show, you know, we can make some racket on our guitars and stuff. But they became some of our dearest friends through the years. He had a band called Dots. He had something called Johnny Gray. I mean, we've played so many shows together. And I think that was just kind of a natural, something just organically that came up. They were talking and singing and playing and, you know, hanging out around each other. And he just said, hey, maybe we ought to do something, record it. And it's turned in, I think they're on their project. It's called Social Mediocrity, I think is the name of the new record that he just put out. And anyway, you guys check out Fever Tree. John, it's really cool. It's different than the Tora stuff. It's a different, but it's still really killer rock and roll stuff. It's killer. But yeah, from our instrument sides, you know, I just see some people, you know, that I'm fans of. John Corabi's another guy. I mean, he's Jeff Keith from Tesla, his voice. And I said I was a huge fan of Kicks. You know, Steve Whiteman's voice, man. He's still, and he just kicks ass every time you see him. I can't get over it. He hadn't changed a bit. He's still this bigger.
He's got a little bit more problems jumping around like he used to, because we just saw him at a local county fair, and he said he's got sciatic nerve issues right now. And so he was doing this number when he was supposed to jump. He said, this is how you're going to see me jump tonight. So every time I'm going to jump, this is it. This is what you're getting. So he's just a hysterical person. He's always so lively on stage, and you can't walk away without laughing. You know.
Oh yeah, man.
Your
We're
gut
super we're super indebted to them. We played about 5 shows with them right when the first record came out, or it was right when it was coming out, I think. And we played Hammerjacks. I don't know if y'all remember Hammerjacks.
I never went, but yeah, I know of it.
Yeah, it's like the whiskey, East Coast whiskey.
It was, man. We would drive in a day early just so we could go in there. It was like 3 stories. It had like 36 bars in it. It was just insane, you know. And we played there with them. And I found him on the Monsters of Rock cruise. I had tried to catch him at Rocklahoma like years earlier, and he was doing warm-ups, and I didn't want to bother him. You know, the band said he's in the back doing warm-ups or something. And but I saw him on the cruise. My wife and I went to get something to eat, and it was like the middle of the day. Everybody's watching bands and stuff, and we went into this place to eat, and nobody's in there except Steve and his wife walk in. You know, and I was like, hey, I don't want to be this guy. He's in here just trying to be by himself. I was like, I might never see this guy again. And I was just, I want to just say something to him. And I went over and found him, and I just said, I just wanted to say thank you. I said, man, I've never got a chance to tell you that. But I said, because we did those shows we could go back to Hammerjacks and sell it out. You know, I mean, I didn't tell him that, but in my mind, I was thinking it was because of the credibility of just being connected to them. That was when Don't Close Your Eyes was huge. I mean, it was on every radio station. It was, the video was all over MTV. And they were playing big venues, and but they just were so humble and down to earth. And when I was talking to him, he just proved it to me, because he laughed and he said, "Man, you know what? You had to go out there and earn it every night." And he said, y'all went out and went for it. And he just was down to earth. It just made me, when you meet people like that, it makes you just like them that much more when you realize how down to earth and cool they are. And he's just such a professional dude. I mean, what you said, I went on that cruise, the first one, and they were playing at like 9 o'clock at night or something. And I went to my room and got still for a second, and I fell asleep. And I literally stood up. I left my wife and everything. I just leaned up in the bed. It was like 3 minutes after 9 or something. I was like, I gotta go see Kicks right now. And I just like ran to the theater, and I sat in the top by myself, man. I was just sitting in a seat watching him with the crowd, and it was just freaking hilarious. That dude was so good. Everybody that walked out of there had a huge smile on their face. I mean, it was just so good. The band is great. Jimmy's so good on drum. Everybody, Brian's great. They're just incredible. And anyway, we're fans of theirs. And we used to use that Blow My Fuse as our warm up in the dressing room and stuff. We'd have that cranked up in there, you know, before we go on.
Yeah,
it was just a lot of fun. Brings back a lot of great memories.
Well, I'm going to throw this out there, and I know Wes has had this pop up on the screen a couple of times. So we got a club. It's about an hour and 45 minutes or something like that from us. It's in Leesburg, Virginia. It's a place called Tally Ho.
Okay.
So Kicks plays there, I think, every November. And I think sometimes they'll do 2 nights, and then sometimes it's just 1 night. But they've played there several times. And that would be a great show to see you and Kicks back together for a show.
Oh, man, we love that, man.
That place usually packs a lot of anytime there's any 80s type of hard rock band there, it always packs a big crowd. And especially if you guys got attached in that with Kicks, man, I couldn't imagine how
definitely, I'll mention it to the band and to the booking agent or whatever. I'll see if they can figure that out. I'll watch for that. They're awesome.
I have contacts for Tally Ho if you're interested.
Yeah, man, anytime. And y'all shoot me an email. You guys can send it to toratorarocks@gmail.com. Anybody out there that's listening or whatever, that's a good way to contact us through it. It's on our website, toratormusic.com. You can reach us at toratorarocks@gmail.com. And any of our social media platforms, that's us on there. We're all interacting. Keith and I and Patrick and John, we're all on there answering and talking. And we're just still having a great time, man. We're doing singles right now. We let out, I can't believe it, coming up right now this month. What is this, September? That'll be a year. Trip the Light Fantastic came out a year ago. We did a track. We're using a guy named Adam Hill is producing the songs with us. And we went in the studio back in 2021 for my birthday. So it was in the summertime. We went in and cut about 12 tracks, and we decided we were going to let stuff kind of simmer for a second. We said, man, the COVID's going on. We're not sure what's happening with our release schedule on it. And we said, why don't we just let out one at a time? And just, I think Tesla's kind of doing that. We kind of saw them doing it with that Cold Blue Steel and their new single they're letting out, Time to Rock, I think is the name of it. But anyway, it kind of gives you a second to let people hear it and listen, because we did the Bastards of Bill record, and then we know people heard Rose of Jericho and Silence the Sirens, and then we let out Son of a Prodigal Son. But we were like, did they hear anything else after Son of a Prodigal Son? Because that was kind of like the last single that we had out off of it. But there was things like Lights Up the River and Ever Bright and things like that were on there. And we were like, I don't know if anybody heard those tracks or not. And so this way, maybe we could let them out one at a time and see if people like it. We'll kind of let it sit there and, kind of like opening a bottle of wine, just kind of let it air for a second, and then, move into the next one. And some people have been asking if we're going to do a project on this. And eventually, I think that's where we're headed, is to clump all these together. We threw in a outtake of this record. We put out a live Everbright that's floating around on the platforms right now. And we're getting ready to let out another single. So we did, you can check out Trip the Light, fantastic. You can check out Little Girl Blue. That was kind of a little hat tip to Janis Joplin. And then our last song was Go Where the Love Is. And that one's been floating around for a couple of months. It was out the end of April, 1st of May. So the life cycles of these are kind of interesting, man. Where we're sitting with the entertainment industry, everybody's attention span is really short. And so we're kind of revisiting a lot of these things now. We've kind of went back. We're re-promoting Trip the Light and Little Girl Blue. And we're going to keep pushing Go Where the Love Is. And then we have a new single coming that I'm super excited about, man. I don't know what everybody's going to think, but it's really different for us. So I think it's going to be cool. I mean, it still definitely has the Tora Tora vibe. I think it's just going to be interesting. It was kind of written on the piano, so it's going to be kind of a little bit of a different vibe. But Keith's been giving me some sneak peeks of the guitar stuff that's going on. I think y'all are going to dig it. It's really, really, I'm so excited. I can't wait to share it with y'all. It's got a cool message. We're all about being together and people supporting each other. I think that's the one thing that COVID, made everybody kind of get their priorities, realigned and things that were important to them and all that. And we know, that we can't do it without support, without the people out there listening and stuff. So we're really, really thankful for the people that are sharing our music and listening. And I think it kind of spilled over into all of our writing. I know for sure that song I mentioned to y'all before, Sons of Zebedee, that was the first song on Bastards of Bill. All those songs on that record were inspired by seeing everybody out on the road, doing those Monsters Rock things that people were running into, the stories we were hearing. So we're inspired by the audience. And even going back to our warehouse crazy parties we did in Memphis and everything, it was all about, everybody got kind of segmented out in their little groups of people that, whether you were the stoner and partier time people, and then the jocks, and then the heavy metal dudes and the biker guys and whatever. But we were always like, hey man, the door's wide open. Let's all just get in here and get along and let's freaking do some rock and roll, man. That's what we're here to do.
Yep.
Yeah. And so I think that's over in these new songs. We're kind of, I know Trip to Light was about us just getting together and celebrating. We were thinking about, coming out of COVID, and this saying just popped up. It was a kind of a dancing definition, and I was like, man, that's kind of cool, man. It's kind of like not that it sounded like Dancing Days, but it was kind of like that vibe of, hey man, we're getting back to the point we can all get together and celebrate again. And Go Where the Love Is definitely has that vibe about family and our fans and everybody. We feel really close and connected to them. So that was resonating with that. Just thinking about, what home means to everybody, because we feel at home on stage, up doing the things that we like doing, getting together. And but it means something different to everybody when you think about the visions that you have and of what all that means. And then this new song is definitely going to have that vibe to it. So I can't wait to share that with you.
Well, and right now I just kind of crash course on other songs again, and Go Where the Love Is my favorite of the three. They're all really great songs. And and I didn't catch on to it at first. I had to go I had to go back and listen to it a second time because I read somebody's comment. I did not realize Little Girl Blue was about Janis Joplin, but then when I went back and I was like, oh, okay, well that makes sense when he's talking about leaving Texas in the '60s.
Yeah,
and all that. So I was like, all right, yeah, I get it now. So,
I
but
saw
yeah,
a documentary on her, man, and I got so inspired off that. I loved her when I was first started singing. Her voice, and of course, Robert Plant was a big influence. Geddy Lee, we covered some of that. Paul Rogers, but there was something about Janis Joplin. Do y'all ever watch Beth Hart?
Not.
She's a blues singer.
Mine was talking about her, said she was phenomenal.
Man, dude, I'm telling you, I'm not kidding. She kind of reminds me of Janis Joplin. She's got that raspy.
Oh yeah. She's
real super intimate with her crowd too, man. She does like Etta James songs, like "I'd Rather Go Blind" and things like that just move the audience. I'm not. It's like spiritual. Something is just happening when the audience with her. But yeah, there's those people. I know this sounds crazy, but the guy from Rival Sons, man, I'm just all over that dude right now. That we played the Memphis Beale Street Music Fest with him, and I mean, he was like an evangelist, man. He came out. It had rained, and the stage was facing where the crowd was facing the stage where the sun was going down. It literally looked like he walked out on a cloud. The sun was shooting through the beam. And he walked out, man, had his hands up there. And they're heavy groove, it's like down, 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 and it's just jamming. The drummer feels like John Bonham, and it's just this cool guitar riff. The guy plays slide guitar, it's really cool. But the guy singing, I'm not kidding. He's one of the best singers I've ever seen. I'm not kidding. I've seen a lot of people. That guy is one of the best. And he, in the middle of the show, they did these really heavy groove things. He just reached over and grabbed an acoustic, and he wasn't even strumming it. He just kind of was kind of just barely plucking the strings, kind of like this. And he started singing, and the whole crowd just went, and they just held their breath, man, until the end of the song. And when it went off, they just went, I mean, it was just, it was so incredible, man. It moved the audience. I mean, he just had him in his palm of his hand. They were just really good. I haven't been inspired by a lot of people, but that guy was really inspired. It was him. I'm trying to think. I could probably count on my hand the past few bands that I've seen. There was a band called the Lemon Twigs. My son took me to see them. That singer was really good, and they were cool. They were kind of like the Beatles and Queen. They're really, really talented musicians. And the singer came out, and he was about this big around. He had on some aviator, mirror shades, and the sleeves were cut off his shirt. And he walked out, and when he talked, it sounded like he had smoked like 10 cartons of cigarettes. He was like, "Hey, how you going?" I mean, it sounded like he had stayed up all night. But when he started singing, it was perfect. I mean, you just went, "Oh my God, man!" I mean, it sounded like he would have been a really good time. Like on stage, he really, and his stage presence was awesome. It was. So that's about, I mean, he was so good. I woke my wife up when I came in. I mean, I remember that. I came home and it was, really super late, and she was dead asleep. And I said, "Hey, I have to wake you up because I got to tell you about this band I just saw." They were so good. And that's kind of how I felt about the Rival Sons. I've known about him. I think they opened for Black Sabbath about 2011, 2012, somewhere around in there. They were signed to Universal. And I had a friend here, I work in the music industry outside the band, and back then I was doing music publishing, and we went to shows every night. And I couldn't go one night. I was with a group of people. We would pitch songs to artists and record labels and managers and all that. And we all worked for different companies, but we team up so we could be more time efficient with these executives and stuff. But anyway, this lady called me and she said, "Where are you, man, right now?" And I said, "Yeah, I got something going. I'm with my family, or, I can't do whatever it is you're at." And she goes, "You have to drop everything, drive to this bar right now." And it's a place called Third and Lindsley in Nashville. It was a really famous place to see people play. And I said, "Man, I can't come." And she goes, "That's it. Just stay on the phone. I'm going to the front of I'm going in." And she took it and like held it up in the air so I could, and it was this guy. And she said, "You're going to die when you hear this dude. I want you to get off the phone and look up the Sons right now." And so I kind of been following him, but he was super humble too. He was another guy that I had a chance to see him backstage. And he was just real down to earth. They were going, it was them and Dirty Honey were fixing to go to Europe together. So I don't know if y'all are following Dirty Honey, but
Honey's good.
Yeah.
they had kind of matched up, and they were going to Europe for the summer leg or whatever. But he's really good. If any of your listeners are looking for something to listen to,
I'll definitely be checking that out. Yeah.
Well, I know we're going to rewind a little bit. You was talking about playing keyboards earlier or piano. I had listened to the before and after. I think it was released by A&M Records, and Phantom Rider had some keyboard on it originally.
Yeah.
What was the deal? Was that original, and they said you get rid of it, or who made that call?
It was original, and it was our producer, Paul Ebersole. We had actually won some studio time in a battle of the bands when we were really little, and we were putting together our EP. And we started at a little studio that was in the backyard of this guy's house. Steve Houth was the guy's name. And then we won the time at Ardent, and we went in, and Paul recorded these songs, and he said, "Hey man, that song would sound really cool with piano on it." He goes, "I could probably just do some chords behind it or something." And we said, "Great, yeah, let's do it." And that ended up being that one, and Love's a Bitch, Riverside Drive, and Dancing with a Gypsy. I think were 4 that we cut to shop us to the record labels. He worked with us on that one session. He said, "Hey man, I'm going to talk to the studio about maybe doing a production deal with y'all." And we didn't know what that meant. We were just like, "Okay, that sounds cool, whatever." But he was like, "No, it means we'll, pay for the recordings up front, and then we'll shop you the record labels. We'll take the risk of doing this, and then we'll shop you around and see if we can get some labels interested." And it was a really cool experience, man. I mean, we had never been in any kind of facility like Ardent. It was, first class. They had done a bunch of the ZZ Top, Afterburner, and all those records had just come out of there. They were riding pretty high, and they had just got a guy named John Kilzer a record deal. He was on Geffen. He was a great singer, songwriter, kind of prolific songwriter guy. And so they had the connections to the record labels and stuff. And we were pretty rowdy. When y'all talk about the first record and all that stuff, we were blown away by the producers, man. Paul Ebersole was one. Joe Hardy and Paul did the first record. Joe had done all the ZZ Top stuff. So that gave us kind of instant credibility within the industry for somebody that was really successful that could say, "Hey, my next project's going to be these little kids from Memphis." So all of a sudden the record companies and stuff were paying attention. They were like, "Wow, Joe's really been successful." And so that opened a lot of doors for us. And the owner of the studio, Ardent Studios, if your listeners or viewers are paying attention, go look up Ardent Studios, man. It's world famous, man. Everybody from Zeppelin did some stuff, mixed some stuff off Zeppelin 3. There was a group called Big Star that was out of Memphis. It's very influential on the rock world. John Fry was the owner, and he was kind of a father figure to our band. He's the guy that took us in a little conference room and sat us down, and he drew a dot on the wall. He just put like a black mark on the wall, and he goes, "That's you." And then he drew a big circle around it, and he goes, "This is everybody else that's going to be digging in your pocket." Where do we sign up? Can we sing and play our music? But he had been through the industry quite a bit. He had a record label, he had a video production company, and he was running the studio. And every decision I made in my life from the time I was about 16 until he passed away about 2014, 2015 is when we did a memorial for him. Every decision I ever made in my life, I talked to him about it. From being an artist, from working at record labels, from being in the music publishing world. I'm a educator now. I told him that I wanted to, try to pass on some info. And no matter how busy he was, he always made like 10 minutes, whatever fires were going off or bombs in his business or his personal life, he would sit down and go, "All right, let's talk about it. What are you thinking about doing now?" And I was like, "Well, I'm feeling kind of crazy. I'm fixing to shift gears." And we would sit down and kind of talk it through with each other and say, how does this affect your profile and your experience, and how can you, contribute or benefit out of whatever this is? And so I miss him a lot. Our relationship was really unique because he gave me my break into the industry, but he even on a personal level, even helped me more when Tora Tora was over, when the record deal had fallen apart. And I did solo work for a long time until I met my wife and had children. And I decided to go get my degrees, man. I had left high school to do the Tora Tora thing, and I ended up going back and getting my bachelor's and my master's in the entertainment industry. So he actually wrote me letters of recommendation based on my life experience to get me into college. So I was super indebted. Him and my first manager, it was really funny. I went in to talk to a lady at the university, and she said, "Do you think you could bring in a portfolio with, you know, just any information about your experience in the industry?" And I was like, "Oh my God." I was like, "What do you need? I got this." And so they kind of talked me through all that kind of stuff. They were like, "Man, this is how you put your portfolio together for something like this, you know." And it was cool, man. It was really awesome. And the digital realm had rushed in. The whole industry had changed since when I started. So it was a chance for me to update myself. And I also went in on the label side, which was a different mindset, you know, from the creative place that I'd grown up in. I really got to see how important it was to have a champion in one of those big corporate entities, man. You know, I was sitting in a meeting one time, and it was a huge conference table with all the executives sitting there, and they were just rattling off the artists, you know, and they said, "Hey, how's so-and-so doing?" And they go, "Well, he stalled. He's number 48 on the charts this week. He's been there for 2 weeks." And they go, "Cut him." And it was just real cut and dry. And I was in the corner writing on a paper, you know, and I went, "Oh my God, man, this dude's just gonna get cut. I can't believe this." And one lady, she wasn't the executive vice president or whatever. She was like a manager or something. She raised her hand, you know, and I'm sitting there writing down notes. I just started at the company or whatever. And, you know, the CEO was sitting there, and he just looked at her and goes, "Yeah, what do you want? You know, what was your question?" And she goes, "Well, we really believed in this guy. We signed him. He sold like 300,000 records on his last record. And, you know, we benefited a lot off of our partnership or relationship with him or whatever." And the whole room went quiet. Like you could hear a pin drop, man. And I was like, "Oh God, this is crazy." This lady just spoke up in the middle of this. The meeting was like clicking along pretty good. And then it just froze. Everybody stopped. And it was kind of like, did you guys ever see that movie 12 Angry Men? You ever seen that movie? It's about the verdict. You have to get the jury has to convict. They have to be all on board, you know? Well, it was kind of like that movie, man. She said something, and as soon as she said something, the guy across from her goes, "Well, you know what? I might could come up with another 10 grand for the budget and go back and da-da-da." And then the guy next, "Oh, man, I could go back to all my contacts, man, in the PR department and see if they'll run the single one more time, you know, interview him or write a review or da-da." And it just went around the whole table. Everybody started chipping in. And all of a sudden they went, "All right, leave him on there."
Wow.
And I mean, I literally wanted to go run to my office and just go, "Don't screw this up, man. Somebody, you know, put their neck out." Because it was, I mean, if anything would have happened, they would say, "Well, it was her idea. She really put her name out." But the good news is he took off. He like went up the chart. He ended up being a producer and a songwriter, and he's, you know, career. But it was scary to see how. And for us as a band, we never knew any of that was going on. We were wandering around with our, you know, cable and our guitar and just showing up and shaking hands and kissing everybody. And I didn't know any of these meetings and strategy logistics. We just had an itinerary. You know, we would just wake up in some new city and go, "Okay, I got to check these off. You know, today are the things that I need to do while I'm here." Because when you're touring, you're there sometimes less than 24 hours. You're just there and you do your thing, and then you're on the road again. And so you got to make a lot of stuff happen while you're out on the road. So anyway, it was just a big learning experience. It was really fun to go into that after being an artist and I did a lot of retrospect while I was in those meetings. I was like, "Oh my God, I didn't know any of these conversations were going on. This is crazy."
So go ahead. Go ahead, finish. I don't know what you was getting ready to say there.
Yeah. It was just cool to have that artist perspective in the corporate setting, you know, to kind of see it from the other side.
Yeah. So on where you're at now in the music industry side of it there, like what are you actually doing on when you're not doing the Tora Tora thing? Like what's your...
I'm a professor of entertainment business. So I talk to kids about SAE Institute. It's the Sound and Audio Institute, but I teach the entertainment business program. So I talk to them about when they create the content. So when they write the song, it's intellectual.
Gotcha.
And then they can license or assign those rights out to other people. But it's a 11 course program, it's an expedited program. It's hands-on, so you come straight in and we start talking about music business right away. And it's everything from the roles in the companies to business strategies, entrepreneurship, social media marketing, events and touring, and business models. You know, now everything is so crazy with technology and stuff. Our question is, from a financial standpoint, you're always thinking, well, man, that's a big corporate holding company. They'll never run out of money. I can do anything. I can ride in here on the elephant, you know, it's cool. But from the flip side of that is I can control and do everything myself. But from a historical standpoint, we needed access to distribution and stuff before. And now we can push a button and I'm a global entity and I have my own website. And now I just need to drive customers to it. So I just talked to him. I don't think I have it all figured out. We're all learning, but it's fun because they're kind of like a little focus group, the kids in the class. We can think of a topic and just go, hey man, we're all sitting here. Let's all research in real time. And you guys come up. If I take you across the street and we have a beer, or they don't have to drink, but if I took them across the street and we got lunch or something, could you tell me the definition of copyright and talk to me about how you put a business plan together or something as an artist or as an advisor to an artist? I kind of talked to him about that, which is really fun because it keeps me updated. I can continually keep researching and looking and reading about the way the industry's changing. But it's a really exciting time now. I think we're at a place where in history we've never been before with technology and resources available. This generation is going to change the world. Technology's moving and clicking so fast. And now COVID taught us to get out of the box, you know, live streams and all that stuff. You know, the music industry, the touring industry was devastated, but the other portions of the industry actually spiked during that period. So people were still pushing a bunch of music. Mm-hmm. They came up with new concepts. And I know this is way out of the realm of heavy metal and all that stuff, but like the artists that were doing things like concerts in Fortnite in the video games and Twitch, they were getting 12 million people tuning in to watch this dude do a 10-minute set in a video game. And we're like, whoa, is that how people are going to build audiences now? Are they going to be teaming up with video games and having concerts? And just the hip hop people, it was pop people. And, you know, really, I guess it comes back to you got to, you know, decide who your market is, your target audience, and then educate them on how they're going to get your music. So we're still cutting singles and albums and letting out physical product and stuff like that, because that's something that's important to the people that we're, you know, singing and playing to. But I do all the other stuff. I see the potential in all the other common people, and I just get excited for them. I go, man, God, do you realize I literally had to go knock on doors and you can push a button and direct message a dude and talk to him? This is so exciting. It's so killer, you know? And so that part makes me happy. But it's like I said, I don't think I have all the answers or anything. I just have one perspective. We laugh a lot. I try to be truthful and transparent in class, and I tell them I can probably tell you a lot of things not to do just from the experiences that I had from being an artist. And then on the corporate side of it, I really got to study operations. I went into a executive training program that was for 2 years, where I went in and you learn every division of the record company. So from the scheduling and the promotion part, which is like radio and Spotify playlists and all that stuff too. Creative parts, doing the videos and all that, digital media and all that kind of stuff. So I got to look at those departments and just pull the curtain back for a minute and kind of look. I was in artist development and marketing when I was there. So I did a bunch of research for case studies and stuff for the company, where we would break everything down in a million pieces and put it back together. And we would run the trends, you know, with each, the artist on the label plus the competitive artist, we could look. And it was just fun. It was a lot of research, but it was fun.
Well, it sounds like, you know, with you having that education put out there, it's going to help a lot of people, you know, like you said, that's coming up and that have no clue about the industry. And like you are first-hand experience, y'all went into it blind, not knowing anything. And yeah. I mean, I think it worked out okay for you, but there was a lot of bands that just got scraped underneath the carpet there at some point in time. And it's just like you said, a click of a button, they're gone. And yeah. It's crazy that it happens like that, but it happens like that way more often than what you realize.
Yeah, I'm excited, man. There's a guy right now, one of the students, he plays slide electric guitar. He's, man, really good. I just said, God, Will, you're going to do great, man. He played me a little demo, and I just said, oh, this is so cool. I remember this, man. Starting out and putting your demos together and stuff. It's really exciting. But I enjoy it, man. And I am excited about them. We've been in it so long and committed our life to the entertainment industry that I just want to encourage people that want to do it. And if I can help and give them, one perspective or something on something, I try to encourage them that way. So,
yeah. Well, I know one thing that really impressed us when we saw you back in 2020, like out of all the bands that was there that weekend, Tora Tora was the only all original band at all that whole weekend. And, and then you guys were out there. We had met you at the show. We got a picture with you. You guys were super cool to us. But, you guys were out there, out in, with the crowd and interacting with people, talking with them. And that says a lot right there in itself. The interaction with the fans is a huge deal. And for us, just like this opportunity today, this means a lot to us. And, when you see some of these musicians are just, I don't have time for you, and it kind of burns that little spot in your mind there. So the next time you see them, you're going to look at that person in a whole different way. And just.
Yeah, man, M3 was a bucket list for us. We tried to get there for the 10th anniversary. We went on the 11th anniversary, but it was awesome. And I still stay in touch with some of my old record reps, and they wrote me and said, "Hey, man, do you realize you're going to walk out on stage?" I saw the Who open, or I saw Led Zeppelin and the Who on that stage, or I saw Janis Joplin perform on that. And I know they've renovated it and everything. It's beautiful. It's an awesome, complex. But I was just so excited, and we didn't want to leave the stage. Once we walked out there, we're like, "Oh my God, I could stay out here all day. This is freaking." It was kidding. And but we had a really good time, man. There was a bunch of people there that day that we got to watch and see, and it's fun on those festivals because you get to see some of the people you don't normally get there. Everybody's so busy and crisscrossing the country. To get in one spot is kind of cool. But yeah, we'd love to come back to M3. We're definitely Monsters of Rock next year. Right now, we're kind of in a suspended mode with dates. We just did the Philly. Played Masquerade with the Bradley Entertainment guys. That was awesome. That was a 3-day thing back. It had been pushed back for about 2 years, so they were really excited that were there, had a great time. And we love seeing all the bands. We got to play on the same day as Every Mo's Nightmare and Roxy Blue, so that was the 3 Memphis guys. We got to be there.
We talked to Rick, and we talked to Rick a couple weeks ago, and he was pretty excited. He said it was going to be the Memphis takeover with you 3 bands.
Yeah, man, we've all known each other. We've watched each other since we were little kids, man, play. We went on tour with Every Mo's Nightmare. We still trade pictures and stuff with them. We were out. Everybody was having birthdays on the road with each other and stuff. They're really talented. Their band sounded awesome. They're Loco Crazy, and the songs that they've got out now are really good. They sounded really tight. And then I've known Tide from Roxy Blue since I was a little kid. I mean, we've spent many nights together. Partying and traveling and doing all kind of crazy stuff, and he's still really excited. He's really talented. Both those guys, all those bands they're still writing really good music, and we don't get to do that very often where we're all together. That most of the time it's 2 of us together or something, and the 3 of us never really line up like that. But that was really, really fun. That was unique. So anyway, we're looking forward to announcing some shows. Probably the next one coming up will be one in Memphis. Like I was telling y'all before, if you get a chance to come, that's a good spot to check us out. And I've got, just on a personal kind of plug, I've got some acoustic dates coming up. I'm going to be playing Tony Harnell 3 nights. And then on the last night, Tad Poley is going to be with us. So we're doing a show in Woodbury, Connecticut. We're doing one in Oneida, New York, and then Teaneck, New Jersey. So that's October 13th, 14th, and 15th. I'll be out with Tony Harnett, and Ted Poley's going to jump on the last one in New Jersey. So we're looking forward to it, man. It'll be fun. It's a little bit different vibe doing the acoustic thing, but we do. I pull out some songs that you may not normally hear in the regular tour set. So it's fun to kind of visit those songs, and they definitely have a little bit different a different feel when it's just me playing acoustic by myself. So
Yeah. Well, and it's more intimate in the crowd, even though it's not, up and you're pumping your fists, it draws you in a different way. And even though it's a little bit more chill, it's still a cool atmosphere to be in.
Yeah, I enjoy it, man. I've been really enjoying that lately. So, but everybody's invited, and you guys, if anybody needs to get in touch with me, look me up on social media on the Tora Tora band, and then also toratoramusic.com. We're on there. You can reach us at the Gmail account that I mentioned earlier, toratorarocks@gmail.com.
Awesome.
And man, listen, I appreciate you guys giving me a couple of minutes to talk.
Yeah, well, you made it easy for us. We barely asked any questions, man. So we could probably sit here and talk for another hour and a half and still not get anything accomplished.
Well, we'll have to get back together again. We've got this next single coming out, so maybe we could do a follow-up. It's going to be a minute. I think they're going to have to do some mixes and stuff on it, so it'll be a second. So maybe we can all get back together again.
That would be an honor. So we appreciate your time, and we'll hopefully talk to you again here in the way close near future. So instead of being, what's it been 2 years since we saw you at M3? So
yeah, we got to get back to M3, man. I'll have to work on that one. But listen, I hope you guys have a great rest of your week, man. And I appreciate it. Invite me on here and give me a platform and a voice to talk to some folks. And I just hope you guys take care. You guys have a great time.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Pop metal.